Hello, everyone. Welcome to the serial lectures on traditional Chinese culture. Today, we will talk about traditional Chinese costumes. The costumes of ancient China are hierarchical. They are the symbol of social status used to distinguish the noble and the humble. Yet, the ancient costumes are graceful, magnificent, and colorful. The phoenix coronet and a robe of rank is the formal dress for officials' wife and mother. It can also be worn by bride of rich family as the wedding dress. The legendary phoenix is a kind of divine and auspicious bird. The embroidered robe is as brilliant as the rosy cloud. The gorgeous headdress and cape are the symbol of social status. Shall we probe into the evolution of traditional Chinese costumes? China boasts a brilliant history of clothing. Each dynasty had its own unique style, and each style would change or disappear as the dynasty declined or was replaced. With the advent of the new dynasty, costumes were innovated. To summarize, the style was classical and conservative in the Han Dynasty, luxurious and glamorous in the Tang Dynasty, plain and restrained in the Song Dynasty, graceful and beautiful in the Ming Dynasty, and very intricate and elaborate in the Qing Dynasty. Shall we begin with the classical and conservative Han costume? China's complete code of costume and trappings was established in the Han Dynasty. Han costume is the traditional and representative costume of the Han nationality. Through the historical evolution of all ages, it never changed its basic characteristics. However, Han costume was forbidden in the Qing Dynasty of the Manchu. Since then, this representative Chinese culture disappeared from the land of China. The characteristics of Han costume were obviously different from those of other ethnic costumes, classical and conservative. The clothing was divided into two parts, the upper short jacket and the lower long skirt, with crossover collar overlapping on the right front. There were several types of jacket, short, single-layered, and cotton padded. The sleeves were wide and loose. The clothing had no buttons, using string binding, with exquisite waistband, giving the impression of free and easy flowing. The clothing was divided into two parts, the upper short jacket and the lower long skirt, with crossover collar overlapping on the right foot. Here we can see the traditional Ru Qun. Ru refers to the upper short jacket. Qun is the lower long skirt. As time went on, the clothing was made up of one piece called deep garment. It was used to cover the whole body, relatively conservative and classical. It consisted of two types, straight front and curving front. Straight front had a straight opening down the front of the robe. As the clothing was long and loose, it was a popular style for men. Here is the deep garment with straight front, a popular style for men. Curving front had a front with a diagonal opening. Here is the deep garment with curving front and sash. Sash is the waistband. The main parts of the Han Dynasty deep garment were indicated in the sketch. Crossover collar overlapping on the right foot, front of garment, sleeve, cuff of sleeve, sash, curving front and skirt. The first emperor of the Qing Dynasty was wearing the honorable crown robe, which was usually in black, red, or yellow. The red parts indicate the components. Crossover collar overlapping on the right foot, waistband, short jacket, sleeves, knee shelter, and skirt. The blue parts represent the 12 stamps, symbolic of imperial authority. Here we can see the 12 patterns: sun, moon, star, dragon, mountain, phoenix. Sacrificial vessel, seaweed, fire, rice, axe, and a back-to-back pattern. The Han costume had great influence on the neighboring Asian countries. Here we may appreciate ao dai, kimono, and hanbok. Ao dai is the national costume of Vietnam. Kimono is the Japanese clothing. Hanbok is the traditional Korean costume. All of them were developed under the influence of Han costume. Tang Dynasty was most thriving, prosperous, splendid, and glorious. It was a great era when the frequent interchange between the East and the West happened, which transformed the traditional clothes into a brand new trend. In the Tang Dynasty, China led the world in clothing industry. The clothes were bright in color, soft in texture, and graceful in style. Tang costume was luxurious and glamorous, beautiful and elegant. Women's dress and personal adornments were outstanding, with a special, open, trendy, and romantic style. Ladies with head-pinned flowers was painted by Zhou Fang of the Tang Dynasty. The painting depicted the life of court ladies wearing magnificent clothes and strolling in the garden. There were 5 concubines, 1 maid-servant, 1 crane, 2 dogs, and some flowers in the tableau. The female holding a fan was the maid-servant. The plump and rotund concubines were leading a comfortable and luxurious life. We may find that the dresses were mainly made of exquisite silk, soft and light. Based on the progress in silk reeling and dyeing, the variety, quality, and quantity of textile reached an unprecedented height. Women's dresses could be classified into 3 categories. Tang women inherited the traditional ruqun and developed it further, opening up the collar to expose the cleavage. Hufu was the garments of the nomadic nationalities who lived in the northwestern regions. The open-minded aristocratic woman had a full set of male garments for outing, woman in man's disguise. What is worth mentioning is that Tang women did not have to abide by the traditional dress code. They inherited the traditional ruqun and developed it further, opening up the collar as far as exposing the cleavage between the breasts. This was unheard of and unimaginable in the previous dynasties, in which women had to cover their entire body according to the Confucian classics. The front opening collar was not popular after the Tang Dynasty. Ruqun in the Tang Dynasty was made up of 3 parts: top short jacket, long skirt, and brocade scarf. The top short jacket could be single-layered, double-layered, or padded, typical of central China, sometimes with half sleeves exposing arms. The long skirt with waistband was fastened high at the armpits above the breasts. The brocade scarf or an additional cape was made of transparent silk. The open-minded aristocratic women also wore dresses absorbing elements from other cultures. it was a fashion for women to wear hufu, the alien dress that came from the Silk Road. Hufu was the garments of the nomadic nationalities who lived in the northwestern regions beyond the Great Wall. Hufu was short and tight-fitting, with round collar and a narrow cuff, convenient for riding and shooting. After the High Tang Dynasty, the influence of hufu was gradually weakened, and the female garments became broad and loose day by day. Here we can see fashionable women wearing hufu, garments of the nomads in the northwestern regions. The open-minded aristocratic woman had a full set of male garments for outing that broke the tradition of Confucian formalities. Here's the scene of spring outing. The lady looks chic and composed in man's disguise. Elaborate hairstyle, facial makeup, and splendid ornaments of the Tang Dynasty were also worth mentioning. Facial makeup was quite elaborate and extravagant. Women powdered their faces, rouged their cheeks, darkened their eyebrows, and put on lipsticks. They also decorated their foreheads with a yellow crescent, which was said to be an imitation of northwestern ethnic minorities. The spiral bun or chignon are really quaint and unique. Spring outing of Madam of Guo State was painted by Zhang Xuan of the Tang Dynasty. It is one of the top 10 paintings handed down from ancient China. Madam of Guo State was the third sister of Yang Yuhuan. Yang Yuhuan was the concubine, the famous beauty. Her family members became influential and dignified. Two aristocratic ladies in the middle went for a spring outing, riding on horses, well dressed, accompanied by many attendants, 3 horses in front and 3 horses behind. All the 9 figures here were female, including 7 beauties, 1 mother, and 1 little girl. We may appreciate the close-up. We can see women in man's disguise. We can find the 2 aristocratic ladies in the middle. The lady in Ruqun is probably Madam of Guo State. It's hard to say, it's a mystery. Evening Banquet of Han Xizai was painted by Gu Hongzhong of the 5 dynasties. It is one of the top 10 paintings handed down from ancient China. The original is lost. Here is the copy of the Song Dynasty. It was the figure painting, the hand scroll, more than 3 meters long, partitioned naturally by screens. Han Xizai was an official of the Tang Dynasty. The painting depicted his complicated frame of mind, politically frustrated, indulged in nightlife, yet with no smile. In the painting, Han Xizai was listening to the plucking of pipa, beating drums for the dancers, washing hands and relaxing, listening to wind instruments, saying goodbye to the guests. He changed clothes several times. Pay attention to the lifestyle, furnishing, dress, or trendy costume, hat, and hairstyle of the Tang Dynasty. The man's headwear or hat was actually a piece of cloth called hood. The hood could have either hard or soft flaps. Here we can see the hood with soft flaps. Being draped with imperial yellow robe by supporters means becoming an emperor. But why in yellow? In ancient Chinese philosophy, there is the theory of 5 elements. The 5 elements coordinate with 5 directions and 5 colors. In the center is the earth, the lowest plateau, being yellow. Beginning from the Tang Dynasty, yellow was determined to be the special color for emperor, and the yellow robe became the exclusive clothing of emperor. Neo-Confucianism was the prevalent and dominant thought in the Song Dynasty. Due to the influence of Neo-Confucianism, the costume was plain, restrained, and conservative in style. The collar was smaller. The color was simple, pure, and natural, and the sleeve was wider. Women began to do foot binding, so the feet could be shown outside clothing, unlike the previous dynasties in which feet were hidden under the skirt. Small feet were described as 3-inch golden lotuses. Girls began to do foot binding at the age of 5 or 6. They were actually crippled or handicapped, rather cruel and inhumane. In the painting, we can see 4 beauties in traditional Ru Qun of the Song Dynasty: simple, plain, and conservative. Most of the vestments had big sleeves, wide, broad, and loose. The man's headwear or hat was actually a piece of cloth called hood. The hood could have either hard or soft flaps. Here the man was wearing the hood with hard and stiff flaps. It was quite a curious phenomenon that Beads was popular among people of both sexes and all social strata. In Song paintings, we can find both aristocratic women and maidservants wearing beads of basically the same style. Beads was also preferred by men as an informal wear at home because of its unfastened front, relaxed waistline, and its flexibility in length and width. Beads featured front opening with neither strings nor buttons. Here we can see women in beads, casual and flexible. The Yuan Dynasty clothing featured robe with tight and narrow sleeves. Men of Mongol nationality wore wide-brimmed rain hat in summer, while in winter they wore fur coat, leather boot, and a leather hat. The clothing consisted of 4 parts: hat, robe, waistband, and boot. The monochrome robe was tight, narrow, and single-colored, also called gorgeous robe. It was bestowed by the emperor on his beloved dignitary, being the symbol of social status in the Yuan Dynasty. Dignitaries would receive the monochrome robes as an honor. They were proud of the clothes, and they attended grand banquet wearing the monochrome robes. The aristocratic noblewomen of the Yuan Dynasty wore long and loose robe with tight and narrow cuff. The tall and eccentric hat was called gu hat. When women wore robe, they also wore pants and used a band to tie on the waist. Ming Dynasty was the period when Chinese Han culture developed to its fullest, absorbing the essence of previous dynasties. Women's costumes went even further in its gentle and elegant beauty, being graceful, magnificent, and most beautiful, which are often recognized as the epitome of classical Chinese female garments. Ever since the Ming Dynasty till the present day, visual representation of ancient females or women in mythology has mostly adopted the Ming style. Clothes of ladies were fit and slender. Typical elements included short jacket, long skirt, narrow sleeve, waist sash, and light color. In addition, there were also pleated skirt and shawl. Women could only wear light color. They couldn't wear deep red and yellow. Here are unearthed clothes of the Ming Dynasty: short jacket and pleated skirt. Small feet were described as 3-inch golden lotuses. Here is a pair of embroidered shoes. Men wore long robes with the typical design of 5 bats holding the character longevity. This traditional auspicious design is widely used. The Chinese character in the middle means longevity. 5 bats are surrounding the character. Bat and fortune are homophones having the same pronunciation. 5 bats symbolize 5 blessings. The 5 blessings refer to longevity, wealth, health, virtue, and natural death, in which longevity ranks the first. The black gauze cap is the symbol of dignity and nobility. Losing the black gauze cap meant being dismissed from office. The official robe was embroidered with Mandarin square, one Mandarin square in the front and one at the back. Various birds for civil officials and diversified beasts for military officers. The Mandarin squares for civil officials were embroidered with various birds. To be specific, crane for civil official ranking the first, and a golden pheasant for the second ranking civil official. Peacock for civil official ranking the third, and a mandarin duck for the fourth ranking civil official. Silver pheasant for the fifth ranking civil official, and egret for the sixth ranking civil official. Purple mandarin duck for the seventh ranking civil official, and quail for the eighth ranking civil official. And the blue sparrow for civil official ranking the ninth. Here we can see a man wearing official robe and a black gauze cap, followed by 2 servants. Judging from the crane on the Mandarin square, he is a civil official ranking the first. The Mandarin squares for military officers were embroidered with diversified beasts. Shall we have a look at the miscellaneous beasts? Unicorn for military officer ranking the first. Unicorn is a legendary animal that looks like a horse and has a horn growing from its forehead. And a lion for the second ranking military officer. Leopard for the third ranking military officer, and a tiger for the fourth ranking military officer. Bear for the fifth ranking military officer, and a young tiger for the sixth ranking military officer. Rhinoceros for the seventh and eighth ranking military officers, and a seahorse for the military officer ranking the ninth. The costumes of Manchu and Han nationalities blended and integrated in the Qing Dynasty, and the clothing changed greatly, being intricate and elaborate, yet not so nice looking. At the mention of Qing Dynasty costumes, the images that come into mind are man's ma gua, also called Mandarin jacket or Chinese jacket; Changsan, the famous Mandarin gown; Manchu-style shoes known as qixie; Manchu-style coronet, crown, bun, or chignon known as qitou; and a man's hairstyle rather quaint and unique. Man's ma gua was also called Mandarin jacket or Chinese jacket. Manchu liked riding and shooting, and the Mandarin jacket had been worn out of the long robe with much colorful embroidery. Here is a man wearing long robe, Mandarin jacket, and official bamboo hat of the Qing Dynasty. In winter, a man was wearing long robe, Mandarin jacket, and official fur hat of the Qing Dynasty. Usually, ma gua was man's outfit. Actually, both man and woman could wear ma gua. The word Changsan comes from Cantonese dialect, simply meaning long dress. Changsan was the Mandarin gown. In the early time, the waistline was loose. The entire garment was cut straight from top to bottom and did not have waist. Knotted buttons, also known as cloth buttons or frogs, were decorated on the right front. The waistline of Mandarin gown gradually became tight, matched with a waistcoat outside. Manchu women did not have the custom of foot binding, so that they could do hard work. Only Han nationality did foot binding. The Manchu-style shoes are known as qixie, with a wooden block in the middle. It would be difficult to keep balance, while Manchu men wore leather boots. The Manchu-style coronet, crown, bun, or chignon was known as qitou. The coronet was intricately decorated, standing tall and erect on the head. Here, the Chinese dolls are wearing Manchu-style coronets. Rich women would inlay jadeite, coral, or pearl on the adornment, which was inserted on the chignon, and wear jeweled nail coat to protect their fingernail. man's hairstyle was rather quaint and unique. The front of man's head was bald, and everyone wore a long pigtail. Here is the plait or braid of hair. The official robe was embroidered with Mandarin square, one in the front and one at the back. Various birds for civil officials and diversified beasts for military officers, somewhat similar to that of Ming Dynasty. The official wore bamboo hat or fur hat. The bead on top of the coronet signified the official rank. For example, ruby for official ranking the first, coral for the second ranking official, and sapphire for official ranking the third. The coronet was decorated with peacock feathers, and 3 eyes were considered to be noble. Here we can see the court dresses of Emperor Qianlong and his Empress Fu Cha, imposing, grave, and incomparable. Emperor Qianlong of the Qing Dynasty was the most long-lived and legendary emperor of China. The pearl necklace had 108 beads. The collar is in the shape of cape, and the sleeve cuff was in the shape of horse hoof. Now, shall we move on to Chinese Changsan, the walking rose? Changsan, or Mandarin gown, charming and sexy, is a body-hugging, one-piece dress for women, tight-fitting with slits. The name Changsan, simply meaning long dress, entered English vocabulary from Cantonese dialect. In other parts of the country, however, it is known as qi pao. There is a history behind it. Legend of Changsan goes that a young fisherwoman lived by the Jingbo Lake in Heilongjiang province. She was dark, yet beautiful, clever, and skillful. While fishing, she often felt hindered by her long and loose dress. So she began to sew and produced a close-fitting gown, which enabled her to do her job much easier. The young emperor had a dream that his dead father told him a lovely fisherwoman in Changsan would become his queen. The emperor sent his men to look for her, and she became the queen, bringing the Changsan with her. Manchu women all followed suit, and soon the Changsan became popular. Changsan, or qi pao, is evolved from Manchu ethnic minority, referring to the long gown worn by people of Manchuria and Mongolia. In the early 17th century, Manchu people were organized into 8 banners known as banner people. Manchu men wore a long gown and a mandarin jacket over the gown, while women wore qiangsan. When the early Manchu rulers came from northeast to China proper and moved their capital to Beijing, the dress worn by Manchu women began to spread in the Central Plains and came to be called qipao, literally meaning banner dress. That is the embryo or origin of qiangsan. The Qing Dynasty was toppled, however, qiangsan survived. Influenced by new fashion at home and abroad, qipao underwent some change, and with succeeding improvements, it gradually became the modern traditional dress for Chinese women. Various styles existed. The chart shows the evolution or development of qiangsan from Qing Dynasty to the Republic of China. In the Qing Dynasty, qiangsan was collarless, broad-sleeved, loose-fitting, tube-shaped, and long to feet, worn by both men and women, while in the Republic of China, men's qiangsan was phased out, and the woman's qiangsan became narrower, trimmed, shortened, and tight-fitting. In the Qing Dynasty, people wore slacks inside the qiangsan. The bottom of trousers could be seen from the opening, while in the Republic of China, people wore silk stockings showing legs. In the Qing Dynasty, qiangsan was often made of brocade or jacquard, intricate and elaborate, while in the Republic of China, qiangsan was usually made of printed fabric, simple and practical, seldom adorned with patterns. The main characteristics of qiangsan include high and closed collar, loose chest. The front of garment is buttoned on the right front with frog. Frog is the close button or knotted button. Close-fitting waist, fitting the figure well. Different sleeves. The sleeves can be short, medium, full length, or sleeveless. Side slit or opening. Qiangsan is charming and charismatic. To be specific, qiangsan is not too complicated to make, nor does it call for much material. There are no accessories like belts, scarves, sashes, or frills to go with it. Qiangsan is easy to slip on and comfortable to wear. It is not difficult to put on qipao. What's more, it can be worn in all seasons by old and young, and on various occasions, either casual or formal, like social gathering, wedding, or just outing. Changsan has deep cultural connotation, reflecting the elegant charm of Oriental women. Changsan has simple lines. The apparel fits well Eastern women's figure, setting off their beauty as well as bringing out their elegant temperament. With distinctive classical characteristics, Changsan is known as the representative of Chinese traditional dress and is suggested to be the Chinese national dress. The Changsan worn by Empress Dowager Cixi was loose and long. She had great influence on modern Chinese history. Song Meilin, the First Lady of Republic of China, owned a large number of Changsan. She enjoyed longevity. She died at the age of 106. Zhang Ailin was a talented writer. She said life is a colorful gown covered with lice. The painting depicted a Shanghai lady plucking the Chinese lute. She looked so graceful in Changsan. The fashion style was favored by Chinese film directors. In 2000, the film In the Mood for Love, directed by Wang Qian, showed the charm of Changsan to the world. In the movie, the heroine displayed 26 Changsan, refined and elegant, providing a chance for world audience to appreciate the charm of Chinese woman. Changsan frequently appears in international occasions as the traditional costume representing our national culture, such as the International Film Festival and Fashion Show. Changsan is also suitable for Miss Manners. In restaurants and entertainment occasions, female attendants wear the uniform qipao. Here are some ritual girls. Many foreign women are eager to get Changsan. Here is Nicole Kidman, the Australian actress and producer. It is no longer a garment particular to Chinese women, but for women all over the world, something of a vogue at home and abroad. Tangzhuang Tang-style apparel is the traditional Chinese style attire. It is named after the Tang Dynasty, yet not necessarily meaning that this design was popular in the Tang Dynasty. With a great variety of styles, colors, and materials, Tangzhuang has been creeping into fashion and is getting more and more popular among Chinese people. Today, wearing Tang-style apparel is in vogue in China, even in the world. The four features of Tangzhuang include vertical collar, which sets off the wearer's demeanor. There is no seam between sleeve and main part. However, modern tailors often break through this tradition. Front opening. However, some costumes are also buttoned on the right. Frog or cloth button, handmade and stylish. There are designs in round shapes with Chinese characters such as fortune, wealth, longevity, and happiness to express good luck and wishes, or peony, plum, orchid, bamboo, and chrysanthemum to symbolize purity, dignity, and blessing. Tangzhuang is made in different colors, most commonly Chinese red and dark blue. Chinese red refers to the vermilion red. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, was held in Shanghai in 2001. The Shanghai Summit served as a stimulus to enhance its popularity. At the meeting, all 20 participating leaders wore traditional Chinese jackets in royal blue, scarlet, or olive, embroidered with round patterns of peonies. Peonies are symbolic of richness, wealth, and nobility. It is the king of flowers in China, recommended to be the national flower. As the host country, China provided heads of state with Tang-style apparel, attracting worldwide attention for its rich and strong Chinese characteristics. Chinese tunic suit is a style of male clothes known to Westerners as the Mao tunic or Mao suit. However, it is unfit to associate the style with Mao Zedong. In 1911, the Qing Dynasty was overthrown and the Republic of China was founded. 3 demands came from people: abolishing the monarchy, cutting off the braid or pigtail, and changing the traditional clothes into new ones. Dr. Sun Zhongshan decided to change the national costume. He designed the tunic with 4 pockets, a turned-down collar, and 5 buttons. It looked simple and stately. The new Zhongshan style has its special political symbolic meaning, combining the traditional characteristics with Western fashions. The 5 buttons represent the 5 rights: administration, legislation, judiciary, examination, and supervision. Dr. Sun set a personal example by wearing the tunic suit on various occasions. It did not take long before the style became fashionable all over the country. But the Chinese tunic suit was gradually abandoned by the younger generation, replaced by Western business suit. It is rarely worn today. However, North Korean leaders adopted the Mao suit. They continued to wear Mao suit on formal occasions. Wax printing is the ancient handicraft of China. More than 2,000 years ago, wax printing appeared in China. In the Tang Dynasty, products of wax printing were exported to Europe, and batiks were found along the Silk Road. The ancient people would print pictures on the cloth and dye it later. When the wax was removed, the pictures could be seen. They also made different garments with the tie-dye cloth. The pattern of cloth was simple, natural, and graceful, yet not extravagant. Wax printing is well preserved in Guizhou. In the past, people used hand-loomed or handmade cloth. With further economic development, new industry gradually took the place of the handicraft. The wax printing technique was lost in one place after another. But in some remote areas, say in the minorities in Guizhou, this precious craft passed down generation after generation by oral instruction. The place is off the beaten path and hard to get to, so there is not much cultural exchange. Besides, the natural resources that could be used in wax printing are quite rich. Wax printing is widely used in Guizhou. Women's clothing, headwear, aprons, and skirts are mostly made of batik. How to make wax printing? The dyeing process goes as follows. Plan the design and sketch the design in the cloth. Melt the beeswax. Apply wax to cloth. Form pattern. After the beeswax has dried, immerse the cloth into a vat of indigo for dyeing. Afterwards, the dyed cloth was put into water and boiled to wipe off the beeswax. Then rinse, wash, and iron the cloth. The main ingredient of the dye is the herbal indigo. Compared with chemical dye, the natural dye is better at creating colors and does not fade easily, and the garments wear more comfortably and don't affect the skin. The part sealed by wax is white, but not snow white. This is how white designs appear against a background of blue. Special ice cracks appear during the dyeing process. These lines are naturally formed just like the crackles on the surface of crackleware. Here is the demonstration of the dyeing process. Sketch the design. Apply beeswax. Immerse the cloth into indigo. Wipe off the beeswax. Thank you very much.